So the next thing to do now is to cut the facing. So I'm drafting it exactly on the cardboard. So you use the remaining cardboard to cut the facing. So you use office pen to hold it together like this, and hold it together on the down side as well. So then you cut it exactly at the area where the pattern ended. So you have to use a hip cuff to create a shape on this facing. So you just place your hip cuff like this, and then you roll it straight down, and then you cut it out exactly like this. So you can as well make it straight if you like, but I'm creating a little shape on this facing so that to beautify the dress as well. So that is it. So the next thing to do now is to cut the pattern on the material. So if you are using a pattern as I've used before, so it's time to draft it out exactly on the material. So we are not drafting, rather, so we are cutting it out exactly on the material. So you lay it like this, and then make sure that all the material is well laid and then smooth. You roll 1 inch upward here, roll 1 inch upward at the upper part like this, and then you roll it vertically like this as well. So that is it. So you can now place the pattern paper on the material. So you place the pattern paper on the material. You use all this area where we mark to be your guide. Use it as the guide, and then use office pen to hold it together. Use office pen to hold it at the down part as well. And then you can now cut it exactly on very close to the pattern paper. So you cut it all through like this. Make sure that it's very close to the material so that you don't have excess on the dress. So you cut it straight down like this. So you remove the office pen, and then the next thing to do now is to get the area where all the wet pockets will fall on, and the button area. So you just mark it like this. You mark this place as well. You also mark the other buttons points. So there's another way to do this, is by using a trace wheel to trace it out exactly on the material, instead of opening it the way I'm opening it like this. So but I don't have the trace wheel now. So but later on I can make a video on how to use a trace wheel, which I will send later to the group. But before that, you can as well make use of this pattern exactly the way that I'm using it here now. So just roll it straight, and roll this place straight as well. Then you stop at so you roll this place straight. That's the point where the pockets ended. So you'll have marked it on the material. So here now you mark 3 inches, or you make it 3.5 depending on the chest you are working with. So this I'm using a 3. So you mark 0.7 here, mark 0.7 here for the breast pockets. So you roll it straight like this. So that is it. So the next thing to do now is to cut the facing. Is to cut the facing for the waistcoat. So you place the pattern paper like this, And you can as well turn it to the other side, so to manage your material. So you can turn it way round to manage the material. So use office pin to hold it together like this. You hold it at the upper part as well, and then you cut it exactly very close to the pattern paper. Once you are done with this, the next thing you have to do is to cut the lining. So the next thing to do now is to cut the lining. So you separate it, and then that is all. So you take the suit lining. So this is a suit lining. Take the suit lining and then you lay it in 2 layers like this. So make sure that the factory weaving edge is the one facing your side, and then you double fold it like this. Make sure that all the material is well laid. Set it very well, and then you fold it on it again, so giving you 4 layers now. So giving me 4 layers here. So the next thing to do now is to lay the material on it. Make sure you set it exactly as I'm setting it here. So you lay it like this. So you leave excess at the upper part, like a 2.5 at the upper part. So you leave the excess. So and you fold it side here with a 1 inch, and then you shift it. Make sure that it rhymes. So we are marking out, we are leaving the button stand, that is the excess for the overlap of the front. So that is the reason why I'm leaving that little space in the front. That's the excess I have on the front to the back. So the next thing to do now is to mark out the back panel of this waistcoat. So you mark 1 inch here, mark 1 inch straight down. So because we are still folding the hem of this waistcoat, so you mark 1 inch like this, and then you measure 1.5 upward from this shoulder line. Mark 1.5. So that's the back drop for the waistcoat. So you mark 1.5, and then you roll it straight. You can now cut it out. Cut it like this. So leave a little space before the armhole line, and then overlap it, fold it on the front. Make it overlap with ½ inch on the front. So make the folding to overlap on the front with 0.5, and then you can use iron to create the gator, or use your finger to make the gator. So this is a lining, so I don't need to, I'm not using the iron to create the gator. So you can just fold it like this, and then you notch the point where the neckline ended here. So once you notch the point, then you place the French cuff on it, and then you can create the shape for the neckline. And make sure that this shape you are creating here, it's come down a little bit at the back panel, a little bit, like a 0.5 from the gator which we created on the back line. I believe you understand this, so that the back will be able to drop a little bit, so that I can see that when I fold it like this. I believe you see this shape here that I have here. That's the back. There is a little depth on the back line. So you notch it like this on the shoulder line, and then you measure 0.5 from this armhole, and then you place the French cuff here to create the armhole on the back. Then you measure it like this, you roll it like this. Then you can now cut it out, and that is it. So the next thing to do now is to mark the down part like this. That's the place where the front ended. Then you open it and then use a hip cuff to create a shape at the back panel. Use it to create a shape on the back panel like this. And then you close it again. So now you cut it this side. So you can now cut this side, leaving like a 0.2 excess on the back side. You can now cut the down part. So you can see that I have a little excess by the side. At least the back is a little bit more than the front with like a 0.2. So with like 0.2. So that is that for the lining. So I'm now cutting the lining for the facing as well. So you can now cut the lining for the facing. So you lay the remaining material like this. You lay the remaining material like this, and then you place the facing on it. So you leave a little excess at the upper part. So you can measure 1 inch from that line, measure 1 inch and place it like this. So that 1 inch is for the seaming allowance, which we use it to join the facing together with the lining. So once you set it like this, then you place the pattern paper on it. So this to make us know whether the facing will be enough to the material or not. So you can see that I have excess here, so that is okay. That means the material, the facing will be enough when we finally do the folding. But if it's not enough, just make sure you use the remaining lining at the down part. So if you place the front panel on it and you see that the front is more without that is the lining is not enough, so use office pin to hold it together like this. I believe you understand my explanation on this lining area very well. So that is if you place the front panel on it and then the thing is a little bit wider than the lining, so you use the remaining lining at the down part. So that means that the one you have is not enough. So you cut it like this, and then you mark this point where the facing started from. You create this curve on it, and then you mark this point where the facing ended. You mark this point where it ended here as well. So you can now remove the office pin. You can now remove the office pin, and then you measure 1 inch. Measure 1 inch. Measure 1 inch all through. Then you can now place the hip cuff right up here. So that's the upper part of this lining. So you now place the hip cuff on it to create the shape which we have on the lining. So the exact shape which you created on the facing, that is the one you will create on this lining as well. So to make it fit into the lining while we are joining it together. So just cut it out like this, and then you notch this point where we marked. You notch this point where we mark at the down part here as well. So you notch here also. So you can just right up here at the back as well, so that you'll be able to differentiate the upper parts and the down part of the lining when you want to fix it to the facing. So we'll be treating how to apply ST on this in the next video. I have a comprehensive class where I show you how to sew this waistcoat from the material needed, the tools you need to make this, and then how to take the measurements. So this is a video on how to take the measurement and how to draft the suit itself. So for you to be part of this training, all you need is just to check the link in the description box below, or you WhatsApp this phone number on the screen for you to be part of the class. So the video is a step-by-step guide. This is a video on how to prepare the back. This is another video on how to make the wet pocket. I make use of the easiest, simplest and the fastest method on how to make this, and which can be easily understood by even the total newbie. So this is the end result of the class. So just check the link for you to be part of the class in the description box below. So thank you and bye for now.